What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Michael and welcome back to FudgeMuppet. Today we're going to be taking a trip into post-apocalyptic America to learn about one of the most famous wasteland foes, the Super Mutants. Super Mutants are humans who have been mutated by the forced evolutionary virus, also known as the FEV. They are biologically immortal, although they're not invincible, so if you're lucky you'll still be able to kill one if you ever come face to face with a Super Mutant. They have a very interesting past and aren't actually all the same. Here are 4 facts about the Super Mutants, telling you the story of where these beasts came from, who they are, and what has become of them. Also, remember to click the like button if you do enjoy these videos and appreciate some Fallout content on the channel. Fact number 1. Super Mutants originated from the West Coast and were created by a man known as Richard Gray. Although he didn't really look like a man when he created them, he actually looked like a mess of sentient blobby tentacle flesh, and he became known as the Master. Very unappealing. The trade-off for him was getting psychic powers that he could enhance by consuming living minds. But how did this happen? Well, when he didn't look freaky, the Master was leading the first human survivor expedition to the Mariposa military base in 2102. Attacked by automatic security bots, Mr. Gray found himself dipped in a vat filled with mature FEV virus solution. This was a virus made before the war, which had been repurposed in an attempt to create super soldiers to fight the Chinese. Gray managed to crawl out, but soon realized that physical contact with the substance would affect you. Injection wasn't needed, so after consuming minds and growing his psychic powers, Gray started performing FEV experiments on wanderers who later came to the Mariposa base. From here, the Super Mutants you know and fear were created. By this stage, he had a very different outlook on the world, and believed that he needed to warp humanity, force them to evolve beyond their limitations and their destructive nature. Never again should humankind face issues like the Great War. His Super Mutants were devoid of imperfections, and he thought that he should make all of humanity like this, as it would mean there would be no conflict in the world. Around 2155, he began searching for uncontaminated humans to create new mutants with, in order to build an army which would help him bring his plans to fruition. This was brought to an end by the Vault Dweller of Fallout 1, who blew up his facility and defeated the Master in 2162. From here, the mutants divided into a minimum of 3 factions. Some left to travel east, some wanted to continue the Master's work in California, and some wanted to stay in New California to actually form peace and rebuild the world with the Wasteland's humans. This was the first generation of Super Mutants. A second generation was created when the Enclave came to visit the remnants of the Mariposa base in 2236. They gathered first generation Super Mutants nearby and used them as slaves to excavate the area. By 2237, they had enough data to recreate the FEV, although many Enclave members were mutating due to the exposure and turned into Super Mutants themselves. The facility was abandoned as a result, with the squad left behind to fight the mutants being annihilated. The remaining first-gen slaves and the new second-generation Super Mutants were left behind, sealed in the facility where they formed a new society. First-gen and second-gen mutants are now seen to work together, with the more intelligent first-gen strains in control of their dumber counterparts. A different type of Super Mutant was also created on the East Coast in Vault 87 through Vault-Tec experimentation. A heavily modified strain of FEV made them more yellow in skin color and far less intelligent. That said, it also made them grow much larger and stronger the more they age. If you've played Fallout 4, you would have also noticed that there are Super Mutants in the Commonwealth, although these are created by the Institute. They share similarities with those from the West Coast as well as the Capital Wasteland. Fact number 2. While Super Mutants did originate from humans, their biology has obviously been warped heavily, giving them all kinds of superhero-like advantages. For example, Super Mutant skin is extremely tough and it's very hard to damage. Many people believe that Super Mutant skin is just greenish and menacing, but if you do try to cut it with a knife, it better be sharp. Super Mutants also stand hunched at 7.8 feet tall, stretching out to 10.4 feet if they were to stand up straight. This gives them a variety of advantages that come with the increased limb length. Going hand to hand with a Super Mutant is possible for the best, but tricky considering that they have so much reach on you. Good thing guns exist, although mutants also have an advantage there, as they typically weigh 800 pounds and have super strength, enabling them to hold massively heavy guns with smooth ease. As you'd expect, their bone structure is also enhanced far beyond the human norm. Their skin color also varies depending on what type of Super Mutant they are, but we'll get into that in the upcoming facts. Besides these differences, Super Mutants also excel at the cellular level. their cells actually undergo cellular division at a greatly increased rate. The structure of their cells is quite similar to a normal human still, although their DNA is almost flawless. The large majority of the genes that produce diseases like cancer in humans are not found in super mutants. Their RNA structure is also vastly altered, with the FEV causing super mutants to possess powerful regeneration. As mentioned, some super mutants actually never stop growing, so as they become old, they turn into behemoths. Sadly for the mutants, the virus has also made them sterile, and they also lose secondary sex characteristics such as breasts. They are also prone to psychotic conditions and general mental breakdown, although as a positive, they have heightened senses and acute reflexes. As mentioned earlier, there are different generations of super mutants. First gen are very intelligent, while second generation are not so much. Let's get a clearer insight into the differences with fact number 3. There are multiple types of super mutants. We have Generation 1 Super Mutants and Generation 2 Super Mutants from the West Coast, and then we have Vault 87 Super Mutants and Institute Super Mutants from the East Coast. As a whole, the West Coast Super Mutants are more intelligent than the East Coast ones, and the West Coast ones have a greener skin color, while the Vault 87 Super Mutants are much more yellow. Institute ones, while more similar to the Vault 87 ones, also have a greener colored skin, darker than the Vault 87 mutants. Now, as mentioned, there were two main kinds of West Coast Super Mutants. The smarter first generation ones, which were created by the Master, and the dumber second generation versions who were made from the mutated Enclave while exploring the ruins of the Mariposa base. However, what I want to distinguish here is that while the second generation mutants are not as intelligent, they're not actually as stupid as the Vault 87 Super Mutants and the Institute ones. The Institute ones are the second dumbest, also being smarter than the Vault 87 ones, but only by a little bit. With this intelligence also comes a civilized nature, sometimes, and this is evident with West Coast Super Mutants in places such as Jacobstown, as seen in Fallout New Vegas. On the other side of the spectrum, the less intelligent ones are more aggressive. While mentally inferior, Vault 87 and Institute Super Mutants are seen to be physically superior. You don't see Vault 87 Super Mutants with cybernetic implants and organic disorders like you sometimes see with the West Coast ones. Obviously, they're also less human and have no distinguishing features from their former lives. Vault 87 Super Mutants constantly snarl too, although this isn't the case with Institute ones. As mentioned in Fact 1, they grow as they age. Both Institute Super Mutants and the Vault 87 ones get bigger, stronger, and even less intelligent as time goes on, and can eventually end up being 30 feet in height. These behemoths are so far from human that they don't even speak. They just roar and smash everything in their way. They are a beast, not a soldier. Now that you fully understand the differences between the variants of West Coast and East Coast Super Mutants, it's time to move on to one last type of mutant with fact number 4. When Richard Gray, aka the Master, was creating his super mutant army on the West Coast, he made an elite group known as the Nightkin. They were the cream of the crop of super mutant warriors, as being dipped in FEV did not damage their intelligence at all. They were superior to the other super mutants in terms of brain power and skill. While in the Master's army, they had access to the very best equipment, high-tech weaponry, stealth boys, and power armor. The Nightkin used stealth boys to turn invisible, and as you'd expect, this gave them a massive advantage in combat. Usually the drawback of a big enemy is that they're easy to see, but these guys were stealthy and tank. Heavy stealth boy usage turned their skin to a pale blue, slightly purpley color, and also, though, degraded their minds. After the Master was defeated, the Nightkin left in groups and began wandering the wasteland. Because of the heavy stealth boy usage, you'll actually find them to be out of their mind. They're often delusional, paranoid, schizophrenic, and very aggressive. They're not sane anymore, but regardless of this, their stealth boy tactics continue. They dress like the other super mutants, although they often wear hoods. You can find them in Fallout New Vegas wielding miniguns, super sledges, and bumper swords, and they will come at you from out of nowhere. Luckily for you, however, they're no longer stronger and smarter than all of the mutants. In New Vegas, they've actually become weaker than standard super mutants in combat, which is also due to the continual use of stealth boys. Subscribe to FudgeMuppet for more Fallout content like this. We really appreciate that you watched the video, and we will really appreciate it if you can give it a like if you enjoyed it. Our social media links are in the description. My name is Michael, and I look forward to nerding out with you again very soon.